Today we're going to do a tour of the front yard gardening and do a little bit of maintenance and stuff. The blueberries, which I plan on doing a kind of lesson on how to grow the blueberries, how I've done it and all that. They're looking good, just a day or two away. I know bird pecked that one there. And they're almost, some of them's almost ready. Snow Chaser's got pretty good size to it. This is a Sweet Crisp. O'Neill's over there. And one thing that'll happen sometimes, you'll be getting webworms in them, and I should have done this last week. Basically all I do is I just clip out the parts that got the web on it all the way, because I just keep spreading. You know, they gotten worse. But I have noticed that on stuff like this, you ever seen those movies where the bad guy's just off screen or just off to the side, peripheral vision, and no one seems to notice him until he does something? That's the way a lot of this stuff in gardening is. You got family members and they're right there. They see it every day, but it's just not quite there. They just don't quite see it. And they just don't see the problems. They don't see something that needs watering. You know, I can walk up and in 5 minutes say, hey, that needs to be watered. And which plant needs to be watered. But if you're not a gardener, you don't notice those things. You don't notice that, hey, there's one extra worm right there. I don't try to get too upset about it, because if you're a gardener, you notice it. I did have one time, I sold a lady some of these. I had extra ones, so I sold her really cheap some of these blueberries that was in these buckets. And they really looked nice back then. They were sunshine blues, smaller varieties, and didn't make the winter. They both died on it. Well, I said, well, what went wrong? He said, well, I don't know. I think I either watered too much or I didn't water enough. It's one of those two. And I remember thinking to myself, well, if you're a dog owner, basically you can't, if somebody says that to you, you really have a hard time helping them, because it's basically like if you had a dog, you said, well, my dog died. I think either fed him too much or not enough. Well, if you can't tell the difference in watering and overwatering, and I've overwatered and underwatered, I'm not saying I haven't done it, but I usually know if I have. And if you don't know if you've done it or not, you got to go back to the basics. I really can't help you. Because it's fairly easy if these it's fairly easy to tell something's overwatered. You know, it's just sort of saves water to use water too much. Underwater is pretty easy too, because you gotta just walk over here. This thing's heavy. It's pretty heavy, so it's got water in it. If it's really light, it doesn't have water in it. But it's one of the things that people struggle with. And if you're at that point and you think you might be overwater or underwater, you know which one, get you some cheap pepper plants or tomato plants and try that. You know, don't get, you know, I mean, if you just buy these in a nursery, they'd be $100 a piece. I didn't charge you that. I'm not saying I did, but at least $100. I'll go for the high maintenance ones. Go for the cheap ones and try to figure out what plants look like. Moving that over there so it won't crawl back. What plants look like whenever they're properly watered or underwater or overwatered. So that's pretty major. You kind of got to figure that out to be successful in gardening. This here's the pink lemonade, and it fell over this year. It does have some on it. It is kind of a light producer, but it does have some on it. It's a later one. And we got Climax. Now this one is a rabbit eye. Now I did put some water on it that was alkaline, and that's not a good thing, so it doesn't look real healthy. So that might be, I need to repot it out. Seems like that's the last thing I need to do, and I run out of time because I'm fixing to go back into Houston today. We got doctor's appointments Monday, but with my wife, everything's going good. She's really doing well. This is my pomegranates, and it's really looking nice. And I actually put a little bit of fertilizer on it, just because I did fertilize everything with, I think, a half a tablespoon of 2 gallons of water, just so I had some water and get some fertilizer to it. And the stupid chickens that come up here. Okay, we gotta get your chickens out here, son, or I'll start shooting them. But too many of these, what you gotta look at, and I've been trying to thin stuff out. It's really small. It can't support 6 of these. These get full grown, just come break the limbs. So you gotta cut these off. I've been cutting off a bunch of them. Did this fall over?
It got broke one day.
It just broke, okay.
Had a couple of windy days.
It had a windy day. It did have, it's not a whole lot of fruit. That's probably not gonna make it. As long as it's got a little bit on it, we'll see if they'll go ahead and make the fruit or not. That's pretty. Let's do some of these. These won't get very big. But they're the little saucer top ones. They won't get about that big. But that's okay. They got kind of a unique taste to them. This is the Rosenberg. It's blown over several times. This pot's just, I like a pot that has a bigger bottom. The loquats are just about to ripen up. Starting to turn. I know I was in Rosenberg at a 22 rifle matched my son's yesterday, and there was a couple of them I took. I tried one of them, it was really sweet, and the other one wasn't quite ripe, and it was pretty tart. So if you ever get one of these and they're really tart, this variety will turn kind of yellow. You want to turn all the way to kind of more of an orangish color to it, because it's just yellow, sometimes it's not quite ripe. And you'll know when you bite into it, kind of figure it out. But even though we had the cold weather, they made this year, so that's a good sign. And these are good, pretty good size. I have 1, 2, maybe 3 seeds in each one of them. The one over there I don't think has hardly any on this, but I did have some others. And the one in Rosenberg had fruit on it, so it wasn't just mine that made it. This is a tropic snow, I think. I thinned it some. I never thinned it quite enough. Really bad, the ones up in regular orchard. I've been trying to thin those out. I got a big old bucket, just one tree, a big old bucket this big, full of extra fruit. Because if you don't, break the limbs like that one, because you have a bunch of them and they'll be really small. So thinning is one thing you should do. I haven't done as much as I just didn't have time. And one year I just didn't do it one year. I did have a big old limb broke on it, and you lose the fruit and you screw up the tree both. This one ain't got no worry about it being thin and because only got 2 fruits on it. Right now the Okinawa spinach is not looking very good, but it's just now starting to come out. We've had some cool nights, so it doesn't like cool weather. So once it heats up, it'll go ahead and look better. The oregano is taking off, growing well. You ended up taking over this whole pot. I did plant. I was up there, nursery. We tried it. I don't know if it's gonna come through, but that's the time. Pink, CHINTZ. It's a variety of this one, and I'm assuming it's going to take over this whole pot too. These are good. They're not very deep, but you don't need to be very deep with that type of stuff. And it's wide, so you can get, you're looking for for shallow roots. You don't need a big pot. It just takes up one more pot and soil. That's going to be plain deep for that. Where on a broccoli plant or brassicas, you want a deeper pot like these are here. There's other loquats that I dug up from the ground. It only had one that survived the winter. And it's looking okay. It's looking a little peaked the other day, but I put some fertilizer on it. This is a tomato I threw in here. See what it does. Make our way over this way. This here is a nectarine, and they're starting. I'm at the spot. I probably need to spray these again, but if I remember correctly, and that's a dangerous thing to try to go with my memory, I think there's 21-day pre-harvest interval on these things. I'm not sure if it's going to be 21 days before these things ripe. So I'm kind of hesitant to spray, even though even though I should with some fungicide. But I'm kind of holding off just because what you don't want to do is you spray them one week, and the next week you got 21 days before you're supposed to harvest them, and then the next week they start ripening up, and then really you shouldn't be eating fruit because you got you're beating that herbicide. It has not allowed that herbicide enough time to degrade. So that's just something to think about when you're spraying, especially something that's got a long pre-harvest interval. Same thing with compost. If you're getting compost that's not been heat treated, it's a long waiting period before you're supposed to eat that stuff, because you could get salmonella, listeria, salmonella, E. coli. This is salmonella twice. You know, those stay in the soil for 3 to 6 months, for 3 to 4 months. So, you know, just something to think about. You don't want to sit there and, hey, I'm going to grow a bunch of beans and throw a bunch of compost on there. Unless, you, of course, if you heat up the beans, I think you kill all the diseases. But something like lettuce or something, only got like, you know, it's going to make in 2 months. And don't put a bunch of compost that's not been heat treated in it, because it can get into the leaves. You're not going to cook those leaves, so it can make you sick. And if you're immune suppressed, it can really make you sick. It can kill you potentially. I don't like to always say it's going to kill you, because a lot of people out there that overemphasize dangers, and but it is a danger if you're immune compromised. This is the blackberry. This is the Primark Freedom, and it's got the big, you know, here's the Primocane, first year growth on it, and this is not going to bloom till next year. This was the Floricane. It grew last year, so it's putting on the fruit on it. And got a spider up there. And then this one here, it got knocked over. Tree fell over, broke the branch on the Floricane, but it does have a couple of shoots of the Primocane coming up. And this is the Ponca blackberry. It tends not to get, it's not aggressive grower as this one. This one gets huge, and I'm going to have to pinch it off when it gets about this tall. This one doesn't seem to get as long and lanky as the Primark Freedom, so it might be better for putting in a pot. They are, to me, these are better tasting than the Primark Freedom, but the Primark Freedom are much bigger berries, so it's kind of a trade-off there. This here is my lychee tree. Got a bee right there, getting those little blooms. And in the water or something to blow it. And it's got several. It's got one here. And come over here. It's got one back here. It's got a cluster here. A couple back over here. Bigger one up over there. So, you know, we've got several clusters of them. I wish I had a second variety to cross-pollinate them, but the other one did not bloom this year. There's the pomelo. I mean, we talked about that. There ain't much changed on these. This is a sweet lemonade tree, the Jiu-Jitsu, and it's doing well, looking nice. The mandarin there. We do have this tree, the longan tree, and it's putting out, I didn't think it was going to put out a lot of blooms, but it's got several. These are all blooming. They're not bloomed yet, but they're fixing to bloom. And that's the buds that they come out, what they look like. So, you know, we may actually get tropical fruit this year. And then this is continuing to bloom on the, this is a really better tasting of the two I've got. Now here, this may have some type of disease on it. I think it might be late blight, because it's hitting it pretty hard and pretty fast. But it's one with dwarf tomatoes. And let's see if that's a worm or not. Yeah, it's hard. Maybe not. This is some of the citrus I bought this year. It's coming out. They're growing. That's blooming. I have to take those off whenever. If they form a fruit, I'll take them off. Now, if you see something like this, I repotted this one. This is my rosemary. See how these ends of the leaves are dead? That's because it didn't get watered, and so they die back on the ends, starting to go in. So it's fine, but it did have water stress last week or week before, and so I put it in a bigger pot so it won't go to dry on me so quickly. This here is another creeping thyme, and I've got it growing. I went and put it in this pot. The only thing about a pot this size, you have very small growing area. It's deep, but you don't really need it necessarily be that deep. But I'll probably transfer it into a wider. I may end up put it back in here and make this once everything else is harvested in that raised bed. But this are two different, some other types of rosemary, and that I bought this year in 4-inch pots. There's my pineapple that I cut from this regular pineapple from the store. It's looking okay. I did mention last video that this was ate up with aphids, and I think it's still ate up with aphids. I didn't spray it because I ran out of time, and I'm going to run out of time again today. But it does have, I will grant it, there's a little, I believe that's the ladybug larvae there and there, so maybe that's actually kicking in. Normally I don't have much success with my stuff for my predatory insects coming in, controlling it, my aphids. I haven't sprayed anything this year as far as insecticides, so, and these are kind of a trial anyway. I don't really care. I've got plenty of those trees. I put them there. I thought somebody was going to come by and want some, so I potted them up in case they did. Just easier than digging them. And those are the Chickasaw plum trees. It's cherry of the Rio Grande. It's coming out. About half of it died, but it stayed right there the whole time. We had the 15 degrees, so it's hardy. I might end up putting it in the ground. Stuff's so much easier to take care of when they're in the ground. You don't have to water them so much. This here's a Fuzzy Wuzzy. It's doing well. You got some tomatoes on the other. Those are dwarf tomatoes. Those are micro dwarfs. This here's your regular dwarf. A micro dwarf is 1 foot or shorter. The regular dwarfs can be anywhere from 1 foot to 4 foot, 5 foot tall. This is my other, or no, not my other, this is the variegated Thai pepper that I still haven't taken the seed pods off of. And this here is the other different variety of the lychee tree. It didn't put out any blooms this year. You're seeing some growth it's putting out here and here. It's pretty floppy. I'm trying to keep it, trying to get where it'll go ahead and firm up some. We'll see. Sometimes that becomes a problem. This is other loquat that I have in the pot. So just kind of doing what it's been doing. Now here, see if you can get, there is what they call a snakehead, and I think it's a swallowtail butterfly larvae. I'm kind of leaving it because that's a little bit bigger tree. Of course, I got another one there. The problem is, and I have 7 or 8 of them on this one. I took them all off because this is a small tree. I got another one there, and I hate to knock them off, but that ended up killing this thing if you let it keep eating it up. So let's see. The other thing I will remind you is, I need to do this after I do it. Whenever you get these trees, I have these plastic things on them, and that's really nice. But they will gird the tree after a while. Now it's not hurting it now, but you know, stuff like this, or even this here, if you leave it on there and it gets big, it'll girdle the tree and kill the tree if you're not careful. So just remember that. Now right now I'm going to leave it because that way I can identify the tree. But you know, even this one here, I guess that'll be a better one. It's starting to girdle just a little bit, and it'll end up killing that if you don't remove it. So just try to remember that. You know, I've always remembered it, but I've had some get pretty tight, and it girdled the tree a little bit. So here is the carrots. They're doing good. My wife eat that one. Don't forget to take it, bring it in. And there's my dog. She likes to get out. She knows she's not supposed to. This is a kookaburra cackle here in this pot. That's the sweet Sue that I still have not potted up in the bigger pot. And this is Fred's tie-dye and Tasmanian chocolate. So they're still growing. They're still growing good. They're still growing good. Got nice thick deals. They do need to be staked up. I'm not going to do it this week, but maybe next weekend. I'll start staking up everything. Like I say, this is just now starting to bloom. It's got bloom buds on it, so this is bloomed out here. So everything's starting to do good. That's what I got for today. I'm not going to get a chance, I think, to go out and do the other garden. Hopefully I'll be able to get a better camera, so I do apologize for the quality of them, but the other one broke, and we keep forgetting to bring the selfie stick, so we brought an old Canon camera from way back. If there's any wind at all, you can't hear it, but today there's not any wind. It's just a really hot, sweltering day already. It's just first part of April. But anyway, thanks for watching.